Hey class, this is the lesson for 5.4, solving special systems of linear equations. So the first thing we're going to look at is what they did wrong in this problem. And we'll notice it right away that they say that they need to multiply by -4. And this makes sense because they probably want to cancel out the 4x with a -4x. And that would work well. However, when they do that, they have to make sure they multiply all three parts by -4. So x times -4 is -4x. -2y times -4 is positive 8y. -13 times -4, ooh, that's not -13. That's where they made their mistake, so we'd have to change it from there. So it should have been positive 52. When we add that first equation and that second equation together now, instead of -5, we would actually have gotten positive 60. And therefore we'd have 11y equals 60. So then we would have the equation 60 over 11 was our y value. Once we solve for y, we then could plug it back in to solve for x, but we're just looking to see what mistake they made. Alright, here's our learning target for the day. Make sure you guys are writing this down first in the notes so you know what these notes are about when you go back to use them on your homework and on your test. Alright, some key things here. I would write down the examples of all this. So like write down one solution, give it a quick example of what it looks like. Notice how there's only one spot the dot touches, the lines touch. No solution means that the lines never touch, and infinitely many, it means the lines are the same. So make sure you guys write these down in your notes. So what this looks like from a few different ways. So from the first way, we'll see when you graph things. You know, if it has no solution when you graph them, it means the slopes are the same. We would notice that right away, or you may have noticed it once you graph it. So if the slopes are the same, there's no solution. If we want to solve it by substitution, we know that they're both equal to y, so we can write the equation now as 2x plus 1 is equal to 2x minus 5. There's 2x on both sides, so when we subtract that out, we're going to be left with 1 equals -5. This is not true, so therefore there's no solutions. For the other type, if there's infinitely many solutions, when we look at these equations, it's hard to tell. Once we graph both lines, though, we notice they both have the same y-intercept and the same slope, and only one line comes up. So that would tell you right away there's infinitely many solutions, meaning that any value of x and y when plugged into both would give the correct answers. Another way to check this one is to solve it out. So as we're solving it out here, we notice that we want to get the y's to cancel out, so we're going to multiply everything by -2. So therefore we have -2x times -2 is positive 4x, y times -2 is -2y, 3 times -2 is -6y. We have these two equations. We add them together by elimination. Well, 4x minus 4x is 0, plus -2y plus 2y is 0, and this is equal to 0 as well, because 6 minus 6 is 0. 0 is the same thing as 0, so because those two values are the same, and that's true, it means that then there are infinitely many solutions. So again, just some key notes. A linear system with infinitely many solutions is a consistent dependent system. So this means that, again, if we have a graph and there's only one line that shows up, it's a consistent dependent system. A linear system that has lines that do not touch is called an inconsistent system. Make sure you guys are writing these down and the examples of the graphs in your notes. Alright, the last one here, we're just going to walk through an example. So they gave us a very mathy example, so I'm just going to let that be known ahead of time. They're saying that there's a perimeter of a trapezoidal piece of land and a rectangular piece of land. They give the totals for the perimeters, 48 and 144, and you're supposed to figure out what these other lengths are. So to figure out the trapezoid perimeter, you'd have to add up all four sides of the trapezoid, which is what they did here. Simplify, so you get 6x plus 12y is equal to 48, so that's our first equation here. Our next equation is the rectangle perimeter. So perimeters are adding up all the side lengths. Add up all four side lengths, simplify, you get 18x plus 36y equals 144. So these are the two equations that you get. From these two equations, you could solve it by graphing. Once you graph these lines, you'll notice they have the exact same slope, meaning that there's infinite number of solutions. So the lengths of x and y are actually the same lengths. If you were to solve this by elimination, you would first want to make sure that you can eliminate, so you want to multiply. You see 6 times negative 3 is negative 18, so let's cancel that out. We multiply everything on the top row by negative 3. And notice how it has the exact same values, so this becomes 0 equals 0. As we saw in the last one, it's always true, therefore there are infinite solutions. Lastly, you could always just check a few points. If you plug in the different points of x and y into these, they would give you the same values. Therefore, you get 48 equals 48, and you get 144 equals 144, no matter what two values of x and y you plug in, as long as you plug in the same x and y values into both equations. So that's it for today. Make sure you get the homework done. It's on Big Ideas Math website. If you need any help, let me know.